Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and happy almost end of March. To put things, this is actually March 24th. It's actually called Rutgers Giving Day, and I'm with Dr. Adil Manzoor, and this is Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. And this is a really particularly special synchronistic interview for a whole bunch of reasons. Dr. Manzoor was doing his, I love saying this, we laughed about this before we went on air. Uh, Dr. Manzoor was doing his residency in internal medicine and pediatrics at the Beth Israel Hospital in Newark. And when he told me that, I, I went, oh, wow, talk about synchronicity, because that's where I was born a long time ago. And the fact that we're both Rutgers graduates, and that kind of synchronicity. And I was quick to say that we met on LinkedIn, which is just a wonderful place to meet people. So, without further ado, because you could get a call and have an emergency and disappear. That's happened a few times already in our trying to schedule this interview.
Yeah,
So while the going is good, Dr. Manzoor, Adil, do a little bio, a little intro, and then we'll kind of jump into this interview.
sure. Uh, First, Kelvin, thanks so much for reaching out at LinkedIn. I think what you have done for the Rutgers community and the graduates is absolutely amazing. You're this power connector that I'm lucky, that reached out to me and connected. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak with you. I think there's a lot that I have to learn from you, and I think there's a lot that I will learn from you. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. But briefly about me, I'm a first generation, originally from Pakistan. Moved here when I was 9 years old in Brooklyn. Grew up there for a few years, got in a bit of trouble, and then parents decided to move me and my siblings to New Jersey. I've been here since 2001, and I tried leaving a couple of times, but I think my destiny is to stay in the state. Went to Shore Middle School, Piscataway High School, and then went to Rutgers University in New Brunswick. And then went on to pursue my medical training at Rowan University School of Osteopathic Medicine. And then I completed my dually accelerated residency program in internal medicine and pediatrics just over a year ago at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center. And now I am set in Central Jersey, where I work as a hospitalist at JFK Medical Center. I work in the pediatric emergency room. I do some adult emergency room work and also work as a hospitalist. And on the side, I do have my own medical practice, and there's a few other things that I'm doing right now. My focus has been trying to establish a system to help public schools in the state of New Jersey open safely with close to 100% code protection. And there's schools that have already done that,
Wow,
believe it or not. And right now, that's been the focus, coming up with a simple automated system that I'm sure we'll definitely discuss.
perfect, perfect. So, um, there's so much, and by the way, I'll say this preface by saying we discussed this before we went on air. There's so much to you that we will never be able to touch all the different layers and unpack everything. So I've welcomed you back here as often as you want to come back, because there is so much to you. So, I guess the first question is kind of for you to share your journey of becoming a physician.
It's unique, to be frank. You know, I think a lot of times, maybe our generation is a bit different, but a lot of times people who want to become physicians, they want to do it since they were young. Me, on the other hand, I've went through a lot of different routes. Very interested in the military. In high school, I did Air Force Junior ROTC. Spent 4 years there. Loved it. Wanted to go into the Air Force. Did get a full ride at Rutgers to the Air Force. However, half a year in, close to a year in, I decided it wasn't for me. Initially, I was actually studying physics, some astrophysics, And then I decided it's just something that just didn't interest me. I think with the scholarship, you always have a year to decide whether you want to continue or not. I think towards the end, I decided I was not going to pursue the military. I left. And then, being at Rutgers, New Brunswick, the sheer amount of education that's available there, I tried a lot of other things, liberal arts. I was like, maybe, I'm going to pursue biological sciences. I knew to at least do the science courses because my mom always wanted me to be a physician. I just didn't. But so I did the basic science courses. I made sure I at least had to do those. And then I jumped from different majors. Ultimately landed up cell biology, neuroscience that I did, and then I minored in psychology. Ultimately, and then even throughout college, wasn't sure where I was gonna go. It wasn't until my February of third year was when I decided that I was going to pursue medicine. Kind of weird, not really weird. Like I would say, you can say it's kind of typical. Maybe I came out with appendicitis. I remember it's like the first time I've been this sick, and I got surgery. I was cured overnight. I was like, wow, is this what doctors do? This is something I might want to pursue. And maybe something I want to do. It wasn't until I think my fourth year of college, I decided, medicine is the way to go.
Wow.
Started looking into how to apply, started looking into everything I needed to do. It turns out that I was nowhere near competitive with, potential similar candidates. So I had a very short amount of time to build a CV, which I did. Became an EMT, started volunteering as an EMT, started working as an EMT. Along with doing some shadowing with physicians, start working at a hospital, more like volunteering at a hospital. And then, it was still, was able to finally build it up towards the end, applied for medical school. So it's interesting. I don't consider myself super smart. I'm just not. I'm the average person that just like works. When I want to do something, I just don't take no for an answer. So, those of you who've been to Rutgers, if you remember expository writing, that class was the bane of my existence. I did fail it. So, when you fail a class in your first year, the chance of getting into any school, it's out the window. And now on top of that, I hadn't built a strong CV. So I had to figure out a way to get into med school, right? I was like, okay, so what do I have to do? What's my chance of at least having an opportunity is all I was looking for. So I came out, I had to cast a wide net, Calvin. I had to figure out my thing was this wide net. I have to apply to every single medical school I can get my hands on and just get in the door. All I needed was an interview and I think it could just go from there. And being cash strapped, being first generation and whatnot, figured out a way to apply to every single med school in the entire country. No joke, for free. I don't remember how, but I remember having done it. And then by the way, I didn't finish my applications till I think October, and that's like way into the process already. I heard back from one school. That was it. One school that gave me a shot. At that time, it was UMDNJ, School of Osteopathic Medicine. And I think my second year of school, it changed to Rowan University School of Osteopathic Medicine. And they didn't interview me until February. And if you apply for med schools, that's quite late because usually most schools are full. I got my interview, I got my shot, and they waitlisted me. They're like, listen, we like you, but we're going to waitlist you. And that's it. I was like, that's it. No other opportunities. I was like, all right, I'm not going to give up. This is what I want. Right back at it. Second year, it's the exact same thing. This time I got 2 interviews, Calvin, just 2. Can you imagine the number of medical schools that exist in this country? I got 2 opportunities. One was at NICOM and the other one back at now Rowan University. I went to them. I'm like, they gave me that shot again. And this time I was like, listen, I want this and I will do everything I can. I will show up to your schools every day. I'm not leaving till I get accepted. They gave me the opportunity, Calvin. They gave it,
Wow.
I got accepted. And I am where I am today. I loved every part of medicine. I absolutely love medicine. I did quite well throughout medical school. And then, in terms of training, I decided I'd pursue internal medicine and pediatrics. And luckily, there was only one program in the state of New Jersey that has a dually accredited
Mhm.
program for internal medicine pediatrics, normally completed in 6 years. And I got lucky. I say luck plays a big role, and I think determination also.
Yeah.
And if you are a physician or going into medical school, residency itself is like this random lottery system kind of way. I got in, one of two people that they take every year into the program. And that hence why I say I am not destined to leave the state of New Jersey. The statistical chance of me, you know, matching here was quite low. I knew I took it. I loved every aspect of it. I enjoyed everything about my residency program. And I do want to give a shout out to my program director, Dr. John Seacat. If it was not for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. He was the most supportive, incredible physician throughout my journey. And now that I am where I am, it's my time to give back. And I am doing certain things that I'm sure we'll talk about
Yes.
perhaps in the future, that I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to the state. And that's going to be my life career and life goal.
Okay. It's again, just to reiterate, your residency at the Bethesda Hospital, which is an amazing hospital. And not the fact because I was born there, but it happens to be an amazing hospital. They were pioneers in especially heart transplants and in the cardiac department. I mean, it's I mean that was my home. And it's still it's just a marvelous hospital. So let's jump into now we have great background. By the way, your tenacity and your determination is so motivational. So there's another career for you somewhere called motivational speaking. Well, yeah,
I
no,
think
there really is. I mean, in your
it,
journey, the stuff they make movies, about. I think we discussed this. I think we did when we first met. Patch Adams.
yeah, you
We
mentioned.
did. There's a movie in you. I'm an old movie buff, but your journey and your determination, it's just great. But anyway, moving on. Tell us a little bit about this Open Safely Health organization, because it's top of the news that you have built. What is its mission and what is its goal? It's to open. I mean, we're talking about COVID and opening schools. So, why don't you kind of just chat about that a little bit?
Sure. You know, it, being in the front lines, right? Having worked all throughout the pandemic, emergency room, urgent care settings, even in the hospital, and even doing primary care. COVID is something that I believe isn't going away anytime soon. It's just not, and we all know that, right? I think a lot of us are just getting COVID fatigue. We're just fatigued. People just caring less and less. Ultimately, it's the vaccinations. Hoping we get enough of the population vaccinated to have herd immunity. Some people say, "Oh, what if you get exposed? We're good." No, not really. There's a lot of variants, and I work in the hospital, and I'm telling you, last week we had maybe 35 people. We're like, "Oh, that's amazing." 35 people. COVID is going down, and 2 days ago I went back, jumped to 100. This is the wave we're getting. It's a community hospital, by the way, right? So I can imagine the numbers in the other hospitals. And I was talking to a lot of the infection specialists. I'm like, listen, what's going on here? Are these new infections, or what? And unfortunately, in the U.S., especially in Jersey, we don't test for the different type of variants of COVID. So after having discussed with a few ID docs, that's what we think it may be. It's COVID variants, and New Jersey already has quite a few. So, it's not going away. And I think the schools need to open and they need to do it safely. We have to do it so people are not at risk. Those who have been exposed to COVID and haven't been vaccinated, if they think they're safe from COVID, they need to think again. Because at least my experience has been the ones that are coming in, they're coming in, sicker because you've already taken quite a bit of damage from the inflammation that happens in your lungs. Your lungs don't recover overnight. Statistically, it can take quite a few months for them to go back to their original, if at all, right? It all depends on how severe the case was. So, so I was seeing, schools opening up. My alma mater, Piscataway High School, they opened up. They have over 100 people in quarantine right now.
Wow.
If you look at all these other schools, there's like a lot of these public schools that are relying on the county for guidance are, you know, the cases speak for themselves, right? And so I was like, listen, schools need to open. I am where I am because of public education, and public education needs to be out, and we need to make sure we give opportunity to our kids, and our future generations, and we have to do it safely, right? So, what we did, I built the team. One of the main persons that I'm working with, his name is Zain Ali. He's phenomenal at what he does. Him and I have been working together doing in-person research,
Wow.
and training with schools that have opened safely. Calvin, did you know there are schools that have opened since September and they have had no outbreaks? They're the rich ones, right? They're the private schools that have the money. They're the schools that have medical advisors. The school that we trained with, just recently, their one of their students' parents is a physician. I think one of them is an ID specialist, and others are just physicians, and they're their advisors. They've been guiding them on how to do it safely, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, how to do contact tracing, etc. So, in my mind, we were like, okay, so guess what? We don't have to start from scratch. We don't have to be like, hey, schools can't be open safely, right? Because you have three scenarios: the private schools that are opening safely, right? They got almost no transmission. They've been open since September. They're not losing out on education,
Wow.
right? They have such a good system of contact tracing and quarantining. You got schools like public schools that are relying on our county, right, or our health department in guidance, and they took forever to open. Now they're opening. Now they're outbreaks as expected, right? Or you have schools that are like, I just don't want to open. It's too risky. It really is risky, right? Especially with the variants going around, and the reinfection rates, and especially if not everyone has been vaccinated, right? So those are scenarios, and I think everyone should be able to open safely. So, Zane and I spent quite a bit of time putting together a system. Not only that school, we looked at other organizations with, we're looking at airline industries, looking at a school, the hospitals, what we're doing, right? In hospitals, we're doing constantly testing our staff, right? There's the rapid test set up every day, and we're getting PCR tested. And if someone gets exposed, they have such great, contact tracing, etc. So what we did was we came up with, we can think of it a complicated system. We simplified it and automated it.
Mhm.
Simple 10-step process.
Wow.
We've built a very simple system that we want to offer to schools. We want to offer this to the state of New Jersey at no cost, by the way. No cost. We don't want any of your money. Okay. Our focus is to get the schools open. Okay. And it's something that very easy to implement. We believe it. It's evidence-based. Okay. It's not something we just made up. It's based on evidence. And we've set it in such a way that it's automated, where the schools will be able to easily keep track of people that are going to get infected. It's going to happen, and how to trace them, and how to appropriately quarantine the right people and do it very quickly.
Wow. So I'm digesting this. So what can listeners, people out there listening to you and your ideas and what you've done, how can listeners help you and reach out to you?
I think the key here is, reach out to your schools, right? Tell them, we have physicians, we have, other people who are very good at what they do, epidemiologists, you name it, right? We have out there that are willing to work with the schools, come up with a weekly testing system that we provide a contact tracing system. You don't have to do any of the work. We'll do it for you,
Wow.
right? And at the same time, set up systems within your school that you will be able to easily run and automate yourselves and adapt our system to your schools. If anything, reach out to me, directly, get us to talk to them, and that's what we've been doing. I've been trying to talk to as many people who are willing to listen. We briefly worked with some schools already, where they wanted to trial and see, the kind of stuff that we had. And you know, we're waiting to hear back from them, and we'll see. You know, I think it gets super complicated when it comes to organizations. People are like, oh man, organization coming in, because you have all these people with PPEs and God knows what that are like selling to the schools, and they're all about the money. They're like, oh, here comes another organization trying to come in and get money. Like, listen, like I get it. You know, public school systems, your money is limited, right? You know, the system we have, you know, it's at no cost to the schools. So like I
Wow.
get it. And on top of that, you just gotta sit with
Wow.
us. You know, I say give me 15 minutes of your time and I can explain to you the system that we have. You know, we can have a team ready within 3 to 4 days, and we can train your school, any
Wow.
school, within 2 to 3 days. Have a system up and running within a week.
Wow. This is a wow. And of course, your phone number and your email is here. And we're going to put this out there.
I apologize. I
What?
apologize for that. I wanted to be out in the weather. It's such a beautiful day outside. So I do apologize with all that background noise.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
realize.
all right. Hey, you know, that it adds to the ambiance and the
Oh,
reality.
cool.
You know, no, I think it's great. As a matter of fact, I just interviewed last week. Interesting guy. You and I can talk about him. He's a former Marine. I think I might have even mentioned him to you. PTSD, bipolar, and he's a world jiu-jitsu. But I interviewed him last week on the streets of Philadelphia. A
Wow, that's
little
amazing.
noisier than this. So no, this is fine. So I just hope we've resonated with people out there and they follow up, and I'm going to do my job here by promulgating and spreading the word of this. And I just have one off topic, a quick question to ask you as we wrap up this session, and there'll be more. Living or dead, Dr. Manzoor, you're smiling. Living or dead, there's somebody you'd like to spend the day with.
Since I was a kid, Albert Einstein. That's been the thing. If I can get a date with him, man,
Okay.
it'd be worth everything in this world for me.
Wow. And more synchronicity with us. And I love the word synchronicity. As I've got a picture of Albert Einstein's eyes and his furrowed brow that's been behind my computer staring at me for the last
Show
15.
it to us. You gotta show it to us. Show it to us. I think.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're
It's
right.
amazing.
This is what's been sitting behind my computer for 15 years, staring at his eyes and his furrowed brow. And I just marvel. I marvel at you and your journey, as I marvel at Albert Einstein and how he understood the universe before there was Google, you know, and before there was an internet. So anyway, this is a great spot to do a wrap and to thank you for your journey, for your energy, your passion, your motivation, and I'm here whenever you want to come back. Please do, because there's so much more to you. And I can only say I would look forward to when we can do number 2, number 3, number 4. I only wish you good things, Adil, Dr. Manzoor. You've been great.
Thank you so much, Calvin. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you having me here. Really do.
This is great. Thank you. And only good things. I wish you only good things.